The beloved country music icon has long been celebrated for her infectious smile, unwavering optimism, and heartwarming spirit. For decades, she has captivated audiences worldwide, becoming an emblem of country music and a symbol of hope for many. Yet, behind the sparkling rhinestones and the laughter, lies a deeply personal story filled with pain and betrayal. While her career has been defined by success, her journey has not been without its trials. Beneath the public image of joy and resilience, Dolly carries a scar, a betrayal so profound that it has haunted her for years, shaping both her life and her music in ways that few could have ever imagined. The beginnings of a friendship, dreams, and aspirations in Nashville. The story of Dolly Parton's rise to fame begins in the heart of Nashville, Tennessee, a city that would shape not only her career but also her heart. Nashville, known as the city of dreams for aspiring musicians, was the perfect backdrop for a young Dolly eager to make her mark on the world of country music. Hailing from a poor family in the small town of Sevierville, Tennessee, Dolly's dreams were larger than life. From a young age, she demonstrated an extraordinary gift for music, and it was only a matter of time before her talents would be recognized. In Nashville, Dolly found herself in the company of other up-and-coming artists, each trying to make their way in the competitive world of country music. Among them was a woman who would become a close confidant, someone with whom Dolly shared not only a love for music but also a bond forged in shared dreams and hardships. This woman, whom we will refer to as M, was a rising star in her own right. Like Dolly, M had come from humble beginnings, and together they navigated the struggles and frustrations of the music industry. Late-night songwriting sessions, long hours in the studio, and performances at small venues were the foundation of their friendship. They were more than just colleagues, they were soulmates, bound by a shared ambition and a deep understanding of each other's dreams. Dolly, ever the optimist, was quick to celebrate the success of her friends, and when she signed her first major record deal, it was M who was by her side, the first to offer congratulations and share in the excitement of that monumental achievement. Together, they celebrated the milestone, imagining a future where they would both rise to stardom. As their careers progressed, they continued to collaborate on music, with the two women often writing songs together that captured the spirit of youth, love, and ambition. Their voices blended perfectly in duets, creating some of the most beloved country songs of the time. The growing divide from friendship to rivalry. As Dolly's career soared to unprecedented heights, the pressures of success began to take their toll on her friendship with M. Nashville, a city that had once been a place of shared dreams and mutual support, became a place of competition and envy. Rumors started to swirl that M was jealous of Dolly's success, and whispers backstage suggested that their once close friendship had started to fray. Their meetings became less frequent, and the warm, effortless conversations they once shared grew increasingly strained. Dolly continued to rise, her name becoming synonymous with country music success, while M's career faltered. The once blissful harmony of their partnership was replaced by a growing sense of distance and discomfort. The media, always eager to sensationalize any story, seized upon the perceived rivalry between the two women, turning their friendship into fodder for gossip. Articles began to draw comparisons between the two, and what had once been a beautiful collaboration was now reduced to headlines about competition and betrayal. Despite the growing tension, Dolly remained committed to her career, continuing to write and perform with unmatched passion. But behind the scenes, she couldn't shake the feeling of regret that had begun to take root in her heart. She never wanted to be a part of the rivalry, but she couldn't deny that their friendship had been irrevocably changed. Dolly knew better than anyone that the music industry was unforgiving and that sometimes success could come at the expense of personal relationships. But even knowing this, she couldn't help but mourn the loss of the bond they had shared. The betrayal, a wound that would not heal. At the height of Dolly's career, when she was firmly entrenched as one of the biggest stars in country music, the unthinkable happened. The woman who had been her closest confidant, her collaborator, and her friend betrayed her in a way that cut deeper than anything Dolly had ever experienced. The details of the betrayal remain shrouded in mystery, but the pain it caused Dolly was unmistakable. Some speculate that it was a broken contract, a failed business venture, or perhaps an exploitation of Dolly's trust by him. Whatever the cause, the result was the same: Dolly's heart was shattered. In interviews, Dolly has rarely spoken openly about the betrayal, but there are moments when the pain of it slips through. "I was hurt so deeply," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "I didn't think I could survive it. I trusted someone and then realized that sometimes trust is what destroys you." These words, though brief, speak volumes about the depth of the betrayal she endured. It was a wound that never truly healed and one that Dolly would carry with her for the rest of her life. Despite her public persona as a joyful, optimistic woman, Dolly's private life was marked by the scars of this betrayal. Those closest to her knew of the sleepless nights she spent not only wrestling with the emotional pain but also channeling it into her music. Dolly's songwriting, always poignant and filled with emotion, took on a new, darker edge in the years following the betrayal. While many of her songs had always been about love and hope, some of her most iconic hits were now infused with the anger, hurt, and disappointment she felt. The silent resentment, a grudge that would not fade. Though Dolly is often seen as a woman who forgives easily, the betrayal by M was a wound that refused to heal. Over the years, Dolly has spoken about the difficulty of letting go of resentment. In her own words, "I hate the feeling of resentment, it's like an acid silently eating you from within." These words reflect the internal struggle Dolly faced as she tried to reconcile her natural inclination to forgive with the deep pain she carried. Despite her best efforts, the anger and betrayal remained simmering just below the surface. For many, it would have been easy to write Dolly off as a victim, someone who had been wronged and left broken, but Dolly, ever the resilient force, channeled her pain into her music instead of seeking revenge or publicly condemning those who had hurt her. She let her songs speak for her. The pain she felt became a source of creativity, fueling her to write some of the most heartfelt and memorable music of her career. One of the most poignant examples of this is Dolly's hit song "I Will Always Love You," which many fans have interpreted as a reflection of her deep-seated emotions. While the song was written as a farewell to a lover, the underlying themes of love, loss, and letting go are universally understood as expressions of the pain Dolly carried in her heart. In private moments, Dolly confided to friends that the song was also about the betrayal she had suffered, a cathartic release of the emotions that had been building inside her for years. The rise of a legendary duo. In the early years of Dolly's career, she was not just a solo artist. She was part of a musical duo that brought forth a level of chemistry and harmony that captivated audiences across the country music scene during the 1970s and 1980s. Dolly teamed up with another highly talented artist, a woman with whom she formed not only a musical partnership but a close friendship. Together, they created some of the most iconic songs of the era. Their voices blended effortlessly, their melodies intertwined so perfectly that it was as if they were made to sing together. Audiences marveled at their performances, and their songs quickly climbed the charts. For a time, Dolly and her partner, let's call her M, were inseparable. They spent hours in the studio crafting songs, writing lyrics, and sharing their dreams of stardom. Their bond was not just professional but deeply personal, and in many ways, they were like sisters, bound by a shared passion for music and an unspoken understanding of each other's ambitions. Their early successes were not just the result of their incredible talent but also the result of their shared vision and camaraderie. However, as is often the case in the competitive world of entertainment, success comes with its own set of challenges. The more popular Dolly became, the more her career began to eclipse her partner's. Dolly's ambition, relentless drive, and undeniable talent propelled her forward, while M, despite her own musical gifts, struggled to keep pace. It was not long before whispers began to circulate within the industry about a growing rivalry between the two. The spark of rivalry, fame has a way of testing relationships, and for Dolly and M, their friendship began to show signs of strain. The subtle competition that had always existed in the background began to emerge into the foreground, and what had once been a harmonious partnership began to fray. With both women receiving offers for solo deals and their success beginning to diverge, the professional dynamic between them shifted. The sense of camaraderie was replaced with a quiet but undeniable tension. The media, always hungry for a story, began to fan the flames of their rivalry, drawing comparisons between the two women. Headlines and articles focused on who was more talented, who deserved the bigger spotlight, and who would ultimately be remembered as the true star. Dolly Parton had always been a fighter. She was never one to shy away from competition, but she also had a deep appreciation for collaboration. Yet, as time passed, it became clear that her relationship with M was no longer built on mutual respect and admiration. Instead, it had morphed into a quiet internal struggle for dominance. Dolly had always been the more ambitious of the two, and her desire to carve out her own legacy, one that was uniquely hers, began to outweigh her desire to share the stage with anyone else. This shift in priorities was not lost on M, and the once inseparable duo became two individuals navigating a turbulent industry that had no room for ego clashes or wounded egos. The betrayal that shattered trust. As Dolly's star continued to rise, she found herself at the pinnacle of country music. She was signing major record deals, earning critical acclaim, and achieving the kind of success that most artists only dream of. It was at this point, when Dolly was on the verge of signing a groundbreaking contract with a major label, that the betrayal occurred. Dolly had been offered a deal that would give her complete creative control over her music, a rare opportunity for an artist at the time. The contract was a dream come true, a chance to finally break free from external pressures and shape her career on her own terms. But just as Dolly was about to sign the deal, devastating news arrived. The contract had been withdrawn. The reason? A rumor had spread like wildfire within the music industry, whispers that Dolly's creativity had run dry, that she was losing her touch, and that her career was on the decline. The source of these rumors, though no one could ever confirm the full extent of M's involvement, the damage had already been done. The rumor had spread so widely that it was too late to repair the damage to Dolly's reputation. The contract was pulled, and Dolly was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered dreams. For Dolly, this was not just a professional setback, it was a deeply personal betrayal. She had trusted M implicitly, believed that their bond was unbreakable, and thought of her as family. Yet, in a single decisive moment, that trust was shattered. For the first time in her life, Dolly found herself struggling to forgive someone she had once considered her sister. In an interview, she confessed, "I can forgive a lot of things, but I cannot forgive betrayal, especially from someone I once called my sister." The silence that spoke volumes. What followed was a period of silence. Dolly, ever the professional, continued to rise above the whispers and rumors. She moved forward with her career, achieving success after success, but the personal toll of the betrayal was evident. She never spoke M's name again. There were no public accusations, no fiery interviews condemning her former partner. Instead, Dolly chose silence, a silence that spoke louder than any words could. Sometimes, the most powerful form of retribution is not anger or bitterness but the quiet act of proving that you can thrive without the ones who betrayed you. Dolly Parton did not need to confront M publicly or seek revenge. She simply continued to shine, to excel, and to prove that no betrayal could dim her light. In fact, it made her stronger, more determined, and more focused than ever before. As the years went by, Dolly's career soared to even greater heights. She achieved fame and success that most artists could only dream of, but the pain of betrayal remained a constant presence in her heart. She continued to write songs, perform, and inspire millions, but there was a part of her that was never fully healed. The resentment, though buried deep within her, was always there, a shadow that followed her every step. The power of forgiveness. Dolly Parton has always been an advocate of forgiveness throughout her career. She emphasized the importance of letting go of past grievances, stating that forgiveness is the key to inner peace. Her life's work has been a reflection of this philosophy, as she has used her music to inspire others to rise above hardship and focus on the brighter side of life. Her songs, from the anthemic 9 to 5 to the poignant I Will Always Love You, have conveyed messages of empowerment, love, and resilience, encouraging her fans to embrace the healing power of forgiveness and positivity. Dolly's own life has not been without its struggles, yet she has always maintained an image of a woman who could let go of any bitterness and move forward. Despite this public persona, Dolly's admission of harboring a lingering resentment was a shocking twist in her narrative. It was a moment that revealed the depth of her humanity, a side of her that for many years had remained hidden behind the dazzling smile and the larger-than-life persona. In an exclusive interview, Dolly confessed that for nearly 50 years she had carried a deep wound, a wound caused by someone she once considered family. This revelation sent shock waves through the country music community and among her fans, who had long admired Dolly for her unyielding optimism and grace. The betrayal, a wound that would not heal. The identity of the person responsible for this betrayal remains a mystery, though Dolly has dropped enough subtle hints over the years to ignite speculation. According to what Dolly has shared in her interviews, the betrayal was not a romantic heartbreak, nor was it linked to a career setback. It was something much more personal, a violation of trust, something that struck at the very core of Dolly's identity. For a woman who has always believed in the power of love and kindness, such a betrayal shattered her sense of security and left a scar that would never fully heal. Dolly Parton's career has always been intertwined with the relationships she forged along the way. From her early days as a rising star in Nashville to her ascent into the mainstream, Dolly relied heavily on the people she trusted most, collaborators, friends, and partners. She often spoke of the importance of maintaining genuine relationships in a cutthroat industry, emphasizing how much she valued loyalty and integrity. But somewhere along the way, someone she had once called family, a person she believed to be a confidant and ally, betrayed that trust in a way that left Dolly emotionally and psychologically wounded. This betrayal, according to Dolly, was not just a one-time event, it was a pattern of manipulation, deceit, and self-serving actions that slowly eroded the bond they had once shared. For a woman who had spent her career being open, generous, and kind to others, the betrayal was a gut-wrenching experience. Dolly has never gone into the full details of the betrayal, but she has hinted at its profound impact on her. It wasn't just about business, she said in a recent interview, it was personal, and that's why it hurts so much. For years, she tried to bury the pain, keeping it hidden behind the public persona of the joyful, ever-smiling Dolly Parton that the world adored. But the pain lingered, and over time, it grew harder to ignore. The emotional toll of being a public figure. Dolly Parton has always been a master of maintaining her public image. She has cultivated a persona that is synonymous with warmth, kindness, and unshakable optimism. Her fans have long admired her for her ability to overcome adversity and continue to shine, no matter the obstacles she faced. Yet the reality of living in the public eye is far more complicated than it appears. Dolly's personal life has often been overshadowed by her public image, and the pressure to maintain a perfect facade can take a heavy toll on any individual. For decades, Dolly has kept her personal pain locked away, choosing instead to focus on her music and the joy she brings to her fans. She has often said that the show must go on, regardless of what may be happening behind the scenes. When you're in the public eye, you can't let people see you in pain, she once explained. They expect you to smile, they expect you to be strong, they expect you to inspire. This expectation of perfection created an emotional burden that Dolly carried for much of her life. It was not just an isolated incident, it was a reminder that despite her fame and success, Dolly was still vulnerable to the same heartaches and disappointments that any person might face. For someone who had dedicated her life to uplifting others, the weight of betrayal was particularly crushing. It was a painful reminder that even the most generous and loving individuals could be hurt by those they trust most. The struggle to let go, the long road to healing. For many years, Dolly tried to reconcile her feelings of betrayal. As a devout Christian and someone who firmly believes in the power of forgiveness, she made numerous attempts to forgive the person responsible for the hurt. I've prayed, I've tried to let it go, she admitted in her interview, but some wounds run too deep. Dolly's desire to forgive was not for the sake of the person who betrayed her, but for her own peace of mind. She understood that holding on to resentment only poisons the soul. Yet despite her best efforts, the pain remained. Over the years, Dolly's music became an outlet for her to process her emotions. Her songs, filled with raw emotion and heartfelt lyrics, became her way of confronting her pain without directly addressing the source of it. Every wound can heal if we learn to let go, Dolly once sang. It was a sentiment she deeply believed in, yet even as she poured her heart into her music, she struggled to release the grip that the betrayal had on her soul. The process of healing was not linear, it was a journey that took years, marked by moments of frustration, self-doubt, and grief. For a long time, Dolly was unable to fully accept the betrayal, and the pain remained an unspoken weight she carried with her. But as time passed and Dolly matured, she came to a profound realization: some things cannot be changed, and some people cannot be forgiven. The key to healing was not in erasing the past, but in learning to accept it. In her later years, Dolly began to embrace the notion that forgiveness does not always mean forgetting, nor does it always mean reconciliation. For the first time in her life, she began to accept the idea that some wounds would never fully heal. I can't change the past, she reflected, but I can choose how I look at it. This shift in perspective allowed Dolly to free herself from the emotional burden that had weighed her down for so long. A new beginning. Dolly Parton's confession was not just about confronting the past, it was about embracing the present and the future. She may never fully forgive the person who betrayed her, but she has found peace in accepting the pain and choosing to let it go. We all have our moments of darkness, but it is how we rise from those moments that defines us. As Dolly moves forward, her music will continue to inspire and uplift millions, but now, with her heart unburdened, her songs carry an even deeper meaning. They are no longer just a reflection of her joy and optimism, they are also a testament to her strength and resilience in the face of pain. Dolly Parton, the icon, the queen of country music, has finally allowed herself to be fully human, and in doing so, she has become even more remarkable. Because in the end, a true smile is not something that can be stolen, it is something that is rediscovered after we have learned to heal.